Hello, I'm Tara Brabazon, and welcome to the Post 45. Why do you procrastinate? So this week we're going to have a chat. Because everything is sort of going well, isn't it? You've got your mission statement and you've selected a goal, but maybe some odd things have happened in the last week. You started with great excitement and energy, but it sort of petered out after about 3 days. Or you sort of had the goal and it never sort of really took. You found an online app, but you didn't set it up to enable the goal. And of course, you may be waiting for your Phoenix journal to be delivered from Amazon. Is this you? Well, welcome to the world of procrastination. The difference between people who achieve their goals and the people who do not achieve their goals is procrastination. So this matters enormously. Now, you're not alone. Research has shown in the last 20 years, so this is a longitudinal study, research has shown in the last 20 years, 95% of the population admits to procrastinating at some time, and 20% of the population describes themselves as chronic procrastinators. So you're absolutely not alone. But as we're going to talk about today, as I've done new research in this field, I'm going to argue that procrastination is not one thing. In fact, procrastination has 10 faces. So think about your answers to these questions. Do you delay completing tasks? Are you a bit restless? And do you lack the focus and the energy and the attention when you're confronted by a task? Now, if you've said yes, Tara, yeah. If you said yes to any of those questions, then you're absolutely not alone. You're in the 95% of the population that procrastinates. And we're going to work on clear solutions for you today. And look, there's no judgment at all in the commentary and the model that I'm going to create today. No judgment at all, because procrastination has a clear payoff. When times are tough, and wow, they're tough at the moment, but when times are tough, look, watching a goat video or seeing how Andrew Tate is being outthought and outplayed by the clever wits on Twitter is incredibly exciting, and it creates laughter. #burn. In tough times, look, enjoying that cup of coffee, that second cup of coffee, that third cup of coffee, listening to a piece of music and enjoying the dance, that's tremendous. Laughing in response to a short video, deciding to clean the house or texting a mate of yours, all of that behaviour is completely understandable because it gives us micro moments of happiness and micro moments of pleasure. And in our dark times, this behaviour is completely rational and logical. But the problem we've got is this behaviour is not moving you where you want to be. So if you want to achieve a goal, you must manage procrastination. So I've read a lot of the really recent research on procrastination post the pandemic, which transformed procrastination enormously, and also a lot of the literature post TikTok, post these short videos. And I want to try and offer a fresh lens on the conversation, and the 10 steps or the 10 faces of procrastination that I'm talking about this week is mine. I developed it from the research. And besides presenting these 10 faces of procrastination, I want to provide bespoke and customized solutions if you recognize yourself in this model. Now, I have plenty of faults. I have so many faults in my life, in my personality. I cannot tell you thousands of them. But interestingly, procrastination is not one of my faults. And as I was reading the literature this week, I was wondering why that was the case. And I think it's because in my life, the buck has always stopped at me. So if I didn't do something, it wouldn't get done. So I knew, I think from a very, very early age when I was a little person, that if I didn't do the difficult stuff and do the difficult stuff first, then nobody else was going to do it. I've never had a hero to come and rescue me. I've never had anybody pay my bills. But what that means is, at my age, and I turned 54 a couple of weeks ago, it means at my age, what I have, I've earned. I've never ripped anybody off. I've never been a freeloading postdoc. I've never hurt a single human being to gain any of the successes I've gained. So that's the gift of managing procrastination. So I've never had to confront procrastination because I would argue life's just been too damn tough. And I was frightened a lot. And I knew that there would never be any quick fixes to the problems that we confront in life. But it means I am here today and I look at you with honesty, and everything I have, I've built. I haven't ripped anybody off. I haven't waited for a hero to rescue me, because obviously heroes have to rescue themselves. But I know how, trust me, I know how incredibly tough life is. And I know how these micro pleasures that come from procrastination do make us all feel better. So today, therefore, let's manage procrastination, right? Procrastination refers to putting something off, delaying something, or deferring an action to a later time. You can see how common this is. So let's do our first face of procrastination. I'll do this tomorrow. I'll do this tomorrow. We all know the lie of this statement. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll start on Monday. Oh, look, I'll start that next week. This is a particular problem if you're working in a team, if you are trying to collaborate with other humans, which most of us do, because it means that one member of that team is delaying the difficult stuff, the challenging stuff, the really problematic stuff. Now, sadly, the point of life is that 90% of what we're doing on a daily basis is unpleasant. So if you're delaying what is unpleasant, then basically 90% of life is being denied to you. Now, I understand all of us want our lives to be like our friends' Instagram account. When I look at Sarah Casey, Dr. Sarah Casey, you've met her. When I look at Sarah Casey's Instagram posts, I want to be Sarah Casey. I do. Happiness, smiling friends. And look, Sarah Casey's life is like that, but most of our lives are not like that. They're not like somebody's Instagram account. And life is pretty dreadful most of the time. And those yucky tasks are just not going away. So let's use the old cliche, swallow the frog. Let me explain what that means. What this involves is you enacting the most stressful, the most difficult task in your life at the moment today, and make it the first job you do today. So we've all had to do this. Make the call to the colleague that's always rude to you. So like, just make the call. Or you've got a very difficult, complicated situation to manage through an email, and that email is going to take you an hour to write. Do that email first. First job of the morning. And the gift of this strategy, swallow the frog, is that all the time that you would waste worrying about doing that task is gone. So when you stop procrastination with the really difficult, yucky stuff, you actually buy your own life back. So each day, be really clear, and I do this every day, be really clear, what is the worst thing I have to do today? What's kept me awake overnight worrying about it? And that is the task I do first. So that means procrastination stops, stress reduces, and you get on with your life. Cool. Number 2, I work best under pressure. I work best under pressure. Wow. I've worked with a lot of people that use this on the hour, every day. And so I ask, how's the job going? Can I help? How are we going with it? Oh yeah, look, it's going well. I haven't started yet, but don't worry about it because I work best under pressure. rubbish. Nobody works best under pressure. And let me explain what happens when you use that statement. It's incredibly selfish, because what you're doing is you're then squeezing the time that's available for other people later on in the workflow to engage with this work, right? So they may need to familiarize themselves with it to present at a big meeting. They may need to basically take your work and completely unpick it and redraft it and configure it for a different form. So you're not giving them the opportunity, the time they need to enact that workflow. So think about writing. So many students, so many colleagues say, I work best under pressure. I write best under pressure. This is rubbish, okay? Because great writing, you might write very quickly, but great writing takes time through drafting and editing. So you might write quickly, we all write quickly, but drafting and editing takes the time, and that's what creates good writing. So this mode of procrastination really requires a personal intervention. You need to stop yourself, because you're hurting yourself and you're hurting the people around you. So we need sort of those windscreen wipers that we talked about last week. So whenever you hear that phrase coming out of your mouth, I work best under pressure, whenever you hear yourself say that, you need to stop yourself and you need to apologize to the person that you've said it to, and recognize and log and really sit with the consequences of not delivering an action or a bit of work on time. That means it's not only bad for you, it's bad for the people around you. Now, this mode of procrastination is selfish, and it also blocks the development, I would argue, of an effective team. So remove this excuse. Now understand that you are part of a workflow, and what you need to do is create accountability until you learn to enable this new workflow. And I would argue you probably require some public accountability for the micro credentials and the micro completions that you're enacting on the way through, until you transform your behavior, your actions, your language. So what you really need to be doing is finding a new way to combine time management, task management, and teamwork. And look, activate all sorts of project management options on Microsoft Teams. And there's plenty of them. The ones I went through this week were Teamwork, which is great, Monday, ClickUp, and the Great Hive are great examples. So project management apps are about as common as a comb over at a Donald Trump rally. There are plenty of them. And make sure that you are holding yourself accountable to your team, ensuring transparency, but also accountability to your project. Even if the project is between you and your supervisor, you and a co-worker, or even just multiple manifestations of yourself, you're being responsible to your future self. And this accountability will block that sad lie that we tell ourselves, I work best under pressure. 3, oh yeah, I'm a big picture person. This person doesn't manage details. This person shouldn't be let anywhere near administrative work, because again, they block and they inhibit the workflow of others. They don't pay their household bills, they're always late, and housework is basically something that they never get round to because they're a big picture person. Now, the solution for the big picture people is really, really simple. This is easy. You simply cut up that big picture into functional goals that you can achieve in 30-minute bites. So you've got to change your telescope, if you will, to a magnifying glass. And the moment you do that, this problem is solved. You're creating meaningful chunks, and you must be accountable for the completion of those meaningful chunks for other human beings. 4, I fear failure. I fear failure. This is the saddest and most worrying mode of procrastination, and it's completely understandable. No judgment there at all. And what happens is we're frightened of failure, and we're frightened of failing. And we're so frightened of failing that we don't even start. Now, this is incredibly common inside and outside universities, and maybe I've just spoken how you're feeling. You are frightened of failing. And the trouble we've got with the crew that are frightened of failing is that the pathway to success, the pathway to achievement is littered with failures. So the fear of failure is actually blocking you being successful, blocking you achieving. Now, if it helps you, how I've managed any of that fear of failure is, and I've done this for about 10 years, I've transformed my entire life into a learning culture. So if I don't understand something, I always ask. I always ask someone to explain it to me. And I use phrases like, in my daily life, can you show me how to do that? Can you show me how to do that? And when someone has explained something to me or shown me a bit of software, shown me a new app, I always make a point of thanking them. Thank you so much for showing me this. I try and learn something every day, and you've taught me something important today. Thank you. And I think, and that's great. That's great. That's a learning culture. That's a learning life. And the reason people don't do this, I think, is because we sort of become a bit embarrassed. We all think we're meant to be sort of the know-it-all wizards, and we can reveal our mastery, but of course then we're shown to have failed. Now, this is nonsense, because we're all learning every single day. And if we go, I know everything, look at me, I'm tremendous, and you don't admit weakness, that is prideful. But if we live, then we learn. So how about from this point on, we treat every day as a learning adventure? The people around you are going to appreciate your honesty when you say, look, I've done this once, I'm not quite sure how to do it. Can you just help me so I know what's going on? But the key is to acknowledge that you don't know how to do something as early as possible as you can. The last thing a group needs is someone saying, just before the deadline, I can't use that software, or I'm not sure of the methodology to use to gain that data set. If you're going to express that, you need to express that nice and early, and then people can help you. So ask for help early. Treat life as a learning experience, because it is. And to be honest with you, the only guarantee of failure is if you don't try. So try, and know that there are people around you who care about you, who will help you, who will hold on to you, and will enable your improvement as a human being. Trust, and the net will appear. Therefore, to intervene in this mode of procrastination, you have to today change your relationship with failure and realize that living is learning. 5. I avoid making decisions. I avoid making decisions. Now, I find this mode of procrastination absolutely fascinating. And this, again, involves fear. It involves people frightened of making a mistake. And they're so frightened about making a mistake that they don't make any decision of any kind. So that lack of decision making is stopping a person moving into the next stage or moment of their lives. And it also creates blockages and problems for the people around them. Yeah. Now, in my life, luckily I don't have this, because in my life, I've had to make and have to make a lot of decisions. And I'm a pretty good decision maker, and I was trying to work out why that is. And I think it's because my first 2 degrees were in history. And that means I'm used to going out and finding evidence, interpreting that evidence, and weighing that evidence. And so that means I make very few decisions on the basis of emotion or a vibe. In fact, I can't remember the last decision I made from emotion, right? I look at a decision. I look at the evidence for and against. I try and seek out examples where somebody has also had to make that decision and what happened. So you look at the trajectory of that decision. And finally, I take 10 minutes and I say to my colleagues, look, I'm about to make a decision. Let me just walk around the building. Let me make myself a cup of coffee. Let me take a breath and just finally assess that data and make a decision for you. Give me 10 minutes. Now, as you can see, making a decision, all of this can happen very, very quickly. And I tell people that a decision is coming. I present the arguments and the evidence available for that decision, and I make it. Now, a decision may be wrong, and new information, new evidence, new interpretations emerge. And that's cool. That's great. Because then, from that new data set, you make a new decision. For the people frightened of making a decision, and I understand it, what I would try and do is take the emotion out. And the more emotional the context around that decision is, the more you need to take the emotion out and weigh and assess the evidence. And what you're doing is you're teaching yourself, if you will, a new methodology. You're getting yourself a piece of paper, putting a line down the middle, what's in favour of that decision, what's against that decision. Sit and think through the interpretations. And think about the consequence of the other side of this. The consequences of not making a decision, letting a situation slide. And we've all seen the consequences of that. It can be absolutely catastrophic. So take a breath. Silence the emotions. Gather the evidence and make a decision. And every decision that you make takes you to your future, one step at a time. Okay. 6, huge one. Wow. I have too many priorities. Procrastination is the characteristic of incredibly busy people who have taken on far too much and are just lost in the work. They have so many things to do between the workplace, their family, their friends, community organisations. The list just goes on and on and on. And really, this is most humans, you know. And there's so much stuff that they have to do that they're simply paralysed. The key strategy for these remarkable people who are absolutely and completely overscheduled is twofold. Firstly, you must say no to any new responsibility for 2 months. So let someone for 2 months take on those burdens, okay? And say honestly to people. I know people see you as a hero or a superhero, but you need to say honestly to people, look, it's just a mess. There's too much stuff. My bucket is overflowing. I need to stop and finish tasks. I am overscheduled. So be honest with the people around you and they will help you. And get people around you to fulfill their responsibilities rather than endlessly devolving them to you. And that may involve getting household members to do some of that housework. And if they forget to do it, don't you do it. You remind them that they need to do it. So the way out of this over prioritization in a life is to stop adding stuff to a full bucket. Okay, your bucket is full. So say no and say to the people around you, I have to say no for a couple of months to get my life back into control. Okay, so that's the first strategy. Stop adding stuff to the bucket. The second strategy is list down on a bloody big bit of paper all your current responsibilities, right? List them all down on a piece of paper. Then with a different coloured pen, I need you to then put them into the 4 categories of important, urgent, not important, not urgent. Now the not important, not urgent, park those for 2 months. Bye Felicia, 2 months time, you can have a look at that stuff. But then from the important and the urgent, you then need to create that internal hierarchy and list the important tasks. But we're going to do something different with all those tasks. We're going to create a time block. We're going to put a time block attached to each of those tasks. And you're going to do 1 at a time. You're going to start, use focus, and finish that task one at a time, then move to the next one. And you're going to go through each of your priorities, start, focus, finish. Now, once that urgent and important list has been finished, you need to take a breath, go for a walk, and try and understand how this mess has actually happened. Work out how these competing priorities have emerged and how they will not emerge in the same way again. Now, no one can do everything. You need to be really honest to the friends and family members around you. Say no. Change your relationship with tasks. Finish what you start. Changed my life when I implemented this, because when you've got too many priorities as a human being, you end up with 10 or 20 half completed tasks, and people get frustrated, people get angry with you. So change your behavior. Here's a task. Start, focus, finish it. Okay. 7. I am a perfectionist. Wow, I've known a lot of these. I'm a perfectionist. And yes, often people with too many priorities are also perfectionists. Now, perfectionists procrastinate because if it can't be perfect, if it can't be amazing, then they don't sort of start and they sort of don't also finish. These people are difficult to work with and they're difficult to live with because nothing in life is perfect. Therefore, for the perfectionists, only one mantra is required. Done is better than perfect. Now, I know this, I can feel the perfectionists on the other side of the camera, they're grinding their teeth. I know it's a nightmare, but you need to recognize that your perfectionism is creating devastating consequences for the people around you. They can't rely on you. Okay, so for 1 month for me, make a decision that done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. And your procrastination will cease at that point. Now, I know you may be angry, you may be stressed, you may be resentful. I get all of that. But for 1 month, just trial this. Done is better than perfect and see how your life transforms. 8. I'm frightened of success. This seems a weird one, doesn't it? Now, I know this seems pretty counterintuitive. And of course, we had an earlier one of these mantras that was exploring the consequences of being frightened of failure. So how could you be frightened of success? Well, another version of the procrastinator is that fear of success, because success means change. And success means attention. And it's sort of easier to fit in, not rock the boat, not put your hand up in the air, not put your head above the parapet. I get that, because whenever we sort of put attention on ourselves, we get the risk of being shot down or labelled, or the toxic people start doing terrible stuff around you. I get that. But if your relationship with success is complicated, and by the way, can I say that's a good thing too, that you're thinking about the nature of success. I want you to think about your relationship with your friends, with your family, and indeed with the entire world. Because the world deserves a chance to read your work, to know about you, and know your name. You matter so much. So don't hide in the light. Complete that task. Make a decision. Complete that talk. Take that job. And if it helps, and this has been sort of my mantra in life, if it helps, focus a lot less on what other people think of you. You know, their commentary, their judgments, their labels on you. Let all that stuff go. Let it go. Work hard. Release that work to the world and see what happens. Move your focus from extrinsic motivation to intrinsic motivation. Care more about what you think about yourself rather than what other people think about you. Success is really defined within ourselves. So you work out what success means for you. And think about that question. Go for a walk. Think about your relationship with success and focus on intrinsic success rather than mortgaging your life on what other people think of you. With this new definition of success, you won't be frightened of it, and you'll take that leap and you'll take that chance. 9, I can't manage the stress. Yeah. This is a major justification of procrastination. The intensity of the stress, the intensity of the competition sometimes means that you give up, you bail, you let other people down, you let yourself down. And this is not about procrastination as such. This is really about stress management and the inability to manage stress. And of course, procrastination only intensifies the stress. The relationship between procrastination and stress creates some very unhealthy relationships. Poor self-image, people being very, very hard on themselves, and behaviours involving drugs and alcohol in particular. And also like sleeping, weird sleeping patterns too. The easiest strategy to avoid doing this is to write down the task that you are avoiding. So write it down, but then don't stop there. Write down why you are avoiding it. Because what causes the stress is I'm stressed. And actually you don't sit down and reflect on and write out why you are stressed. Okay, so what's the problem? What's the blockage? What's the thing you're not doing? And then write down why you're not doing it. And therefore, when you do that, you're managing stress by cleaning up your life. We remove the crutches to manage stress, whether it be sleeping too much, sleeping too little, booze, alcohol. It could be sleeping late is often what people do when they're really, really stressed. They just sleep a lot. Now, you may be a snacker. You might be one of those people. So you need to be aware of that. All of these interventions stop you starting and stop you completing a task. And what's happening is you're incorporating these really unproductive and unhealthy behaviours to stop you starting and certainly stop you finishing. So this means your health suffers, your relationship suffers, your work suffers, education suffers, and of course through procrastination your stress intensifies and the cycle keeps going. So stress is managed by removing the clutter from your life. Set an alarm. Get your carcass up. Come on. Set an alarm. Get up. Right? And if you've seen you've got some booze and drug issues going on, make a decision to stop it permanently, or at least stop it while you're getting really pretty healthy behaviours and patterns back in place. Select one goal like we talked about last week, and complete it. And that's great because then you're learning to manage stress, to push through the stress and be able to complete that goal. And of course, 10, 10, I'm dancing in the distraction factory. Okay, so almost all of the literature that's been produced in the last couple of years is in this mode of procrastination, because people are sort of attached to their mobile phone as if it is a third arm. Tasks are never completed, priorities are never assembled, and decisions are not made because you're on your phone. You're endlessly receiving notifications from social media. You bizarrely have made a decision to deliver emails to your phone. Good luck with that. And you love playing sort of the games that are filling randomly much of your life. Okay. And even worse, your sleep's interrupted because every now and again there's sort of a blue a blue screen that comes to life to say how popular you are on the internet. Bless. And of course the trouble is you're then also interrupting the work of others because of your dodgy relationship with your phone. So you interrupt meetings by halfway through looking at your phone. Oh, got to take this. Really? You don't look people in the face when you're talking to them. You sort of... or you're having a pretty serious conversation with somebody, making an important point, and you look down and you've lost your train of thought. This impacts on the people around you. We're all going, can you just focus? Can you just complete a sentence, please? Thank you. Now, of course, I've written a book called Digital Dieting. So you probably know where this is going. You are allowing technology to run your life rather than allowing technology to improve the efficiencies of your life. And there are alternatives. Remember, Apple has that great app that monitors your screen time. And just to give you an example, every single day I have less than 10 minutes on my phone, and most weeks I have less than 30 minutes screen time on my mobile devices. Okay, I'm not called. People don't text message me. They don't need to text message me because I'm not a sex worker or a drug dealer. Big respect to all the drug dealers and the sex workers out there. Rock and roll. You need to have that mobile phone with you. I understand. But for the rest of us, we're really not that important. And I use social media only as a break in between other tasks. So I complete a goal, and before I commence my next goal, I decide to go on to social media, look at that interface, close it down, and go back to my next job. No notifications are sent anywhere. I don't get emails to my phone. So I run these interfaces. These interfaces do not run me. And I think we all know the lie of multitasking. So we need to strip away the rubbish, the noise, the notifications from our lives. Pick a task, start it, and finish it without all the digital interruptions. And distractions are everywhere now, and that's the nature of mobile digitization. If you want an excuse to not complete a task, social media will every single minute of every single day give you that excuse. Therefore, put your phone in a bag. Put it in a backpack. Stop the notifications. Get your life back. And also remember the wider consequences of this mobile digitization that very few people talk about. We've got so used to social media notifications. So we do something, zzz, and we get a response. Zzz. So we get used to, I've sent an email, where's my response, right? We've got used to getting a like when we do something. And when you don't get a like, you go, what am I doing wrong? Dear me. And we need to recognize that we need to complete tasks without an acknowledgement. You're not going to get a like or a love or a hug. You're not going to get any of that. Just do a task because it's the right thing to do. But remember, social media is only intensifying our extrinsic motivation, our need to be approved by others. The greatest way to stop procrastination is to look for that approval in yourself. At its most basic, if you will, procrastination is about a gap between a person needing to complete a task and when they actually get around to it. And the problem is, the longer that gap becomes, the greater the procrastination increases and the more stress you feel. But I think as we start to be aware of our thoughts, we realize that a task, a responsibility, a job, a decision, they're not the problem. They're not the problem. It's our beliefs about the task, the responsibility, the job. That's the problem. And once we start to look at how we're feeling about these decisions, we can start to enact change. So procrastination requires distraction. And many of these distractions are now delivered through our phones. But we can today make a decision to put that phone away and think about how you understand and measure success and how you understand and measure time. And when we change our relationship with success and failure and time, we may just change the world. I wish you love, light, and peace. Tea out.